Welcome to the Kline Realty Showcase. I'm Denise Glover with the Augusta office. If you see one of our properties that you're interested in, please give our office a call. Thank you to our sponsors and enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, my name is Derek Shadori. I'm with Kline Realty.
And I'm Veronica Amaro with F&M Mortgage.
Join us for our first time homebuyer seminar. We do it the first Friday of every month from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Kline Harrisonburg location. Don't forget to RSVP.
And we will cover the basics of first-time home buying from the real estate point of view and the mortgage process.
We hope to see you there.
our kids the best of everything, the best nutrition, the best education, and the best place to grow up. Even the air they breathe. Lennox strives to provide the best air quality for your family's home, free of indoor air pollutants.
At Landis Heating and Air Conditioning, they can install a Lennox customized comfort system in your home. Let Landis sweat the details so you can relax in comfort. Call my friends at Landis Heating and Air Conditioning today.
Lennox, innovation never felt so good.
Hi, I'm back for part 2 of our discussion of the new rules of real estate. In part 1, we talked about kind of the history in the real estate business of agent compensation, how that went from just seller representation to maybe both agents in the deal working for the seller, to one agent working for the seller, the other agent working for the buyer, but all of the commission coming from the initial fee that is paid to the listing firm. And how that kind of led to a lawsuit and a nationwide settlement, which is going to cause, or has caused, some changes in the way we practice real estate. So first, from an agent's perspective, there are a couple things right off the bat. First thing is, as a requirement of the settlement, the information in our multiple listing service, where we used to have a field where we could indicate if compensation was being offered to a firm who brought a buyer, and if so, how much. That field has disappeared. So the buyer's agent will have no way of knowing through the MLS as they're scheduling showings how much they would earn on each house. It's still okay for the listing firm to offer cooperating compensation. It's still okay for the seller to pay the buyer's agent either directly or through a concession in the contract, which would give them some cash at closing to pay their own agent. All that is the same, but it can't be in the MLS. And the main reason for that, in the eyes of the court, is that so agents cannot search for listings based upon the commission offered. The other thing that is an immediate change for agents, for some agents in other states, a much bigger change than for us, is that all relationships with a buyer client must be in writing. In fact, there must be a buyer agency agreement signed before the agent shows the buyer a house. This does not apply to open houses, doesn't apply to that agent's own listings if they're working for the seller and showing somebody a house based on an advertisement or at an open house. But if you want an agent to show you some houses around town, you as a buyer will be asked to sit down with that agent and sign an agreement. It can just be for those houses that you're seeing that day, or even for just one house. It can be for a brief period of time, or if you're comfortable with that agent or have developed a relationship with that agent, it can be for a longer period of time, just like we sign longer listing agreements with our seller clients. So from the buyer's perspective, it may seem a little strange to be asked to sign a contract with a real estate agent upon your very first meeting with them. So one of the good things I think that will come out of this is that that agent and buyer relationship will develop to be a more professional relationship and less of a shoot from the hip kind of relationship. We all expect that when we're meeting with a seller to talk about listing their house, we're going to sit down with them, make a professional presentation about what we see going on in the market, how we would market their house, what we think about pricing, length of time on market, our strategy, and all of that. We need to take the same care, and buyers need to invest the same amount of time when discussing their goals and strategies and limitations with their agent at the very beginning. So we encourage everybody to meet with your agent for the first time in our office, in a professional environment where we have access to all the information in the market. We can talk to you about lenders if you haven't met a lender yet. We can talk about what it is that you're looking for, what your goals are, and then together come up with a strategy to make all that happen. Then you might be a little more comfortable signing an agreement with that agent, even if it's just for the houses you're going to look at that day. But that agreement will also talk about compensation, and the compensation will be part of the buyer's closing costs. If there is any cooperating compensation offered by the listing firm, as has been traditional, that would offset what the buyer owed the buyer's agent. If the seller offered a concession to enable the buyer to pay their agent, that would be negotiated through the contract, and that's fine too. If none of that happened at all, then the buyer would be responsible for paying their agent as part of their closing costs. In that case, they might make a little bit lower offer than they would have otherwise. A lot of different things, a lot of different strategies to be explored kind of under our new rules. From the seller's point of view, a cooperating commission has always been traditional. It's certainly not universal. The amount of commission, the amount to be shared, all of that is completely negotiable between the listing firm and the seller client. Always has been. There's never ever been a law or a trade organization or a multiple listing service that has fixed that price at anything. Each firm gets to set their own price just like any other business would. As I said, traditionally, and the way we still will do this at Kline Realty is our fee is our fee, regardless of whether or not there's another agent involved. However, if there is another agent involved, that is to the benefit of our seller, so we're certainly going to encourage that, and we'll be willing to share the fee that we've earned with that cooperating firm. We feel like this is the best for the seller, it's the best for the buyers, and frankly, it's the best for the agents in terms of being able to do their best job for their clients. With some of these new rules, there are some firms who have adopted a policy of not accepting or offering cooperating compensation. Perfectly fine, perfectly legal, perfectly ethical, but it just changed the dynamic a little bit in how those fees get negotiated. So if a firm is not offering cooperating compensation and the seller is willing still to contribute to that, they would do that through a closing cost concession in their contract, and that would give the buyer some funds to pay their agent at closing. The one potential problem with that we see, and why we discourage that, is if you have a big concession in the contract, sometimes that can cause a problem with the appraisal process. So if there's a lender involved and an appraiser sees a large amount that is being given back by the seller, sometimes it's hard for the appraiser then to justify the full sales price in their appraisal, and in that case, we may not have to renegotiate the sales price, which would be no fun at all after agreeing to that concession. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to think about under these new rules, and a lot of new strategies which will develop, all legal, all ethical. It's important to meet with your agent before you go on the market, whether you're a buyer or a seller, and discuss these new rules, discuss what it means to you and your situation, and decide if that agent and the policies of that firm are something that you're comfortable with. We're always happy to talk with you here at Kline Realty. You can email me at any time at info@Kline. I'll be happy to give more information on this topic or anything else real estate related. Thanks. Hi, I'm Karl Waizecker, Principal Broker at Kline Realty. Thank you for joining me on the 100th episode of Q&A with Kline. Today, to celebrate, we're here in the beautiful JMU Arboretum, surrounded by nature and forest. Huge thank you to all of you who have watched and who have said things to me out in public. One of the things that I really love and was a little surprised by in doing this series was this is supposed to be about real estate questions with a little bit of coffee to make it interesting. And through the 2 years that we've been doing this, I've been stopped dozens of times in public by people who recognize me as the coffee guy. And they ask me about coffee. Not once has anybody asked me about real estate. So for our 100th celebration episode, it's going to be all about coffee. And I'm going to be letting you know, out of those past 100, what's my top 5. So our number 5 coffee for these first 100 episodes is Valkyrie Farms Spruce XXX. And to tell you the truth, I really love this coffee and probably would have ranked it higher, except for the fact that it is a bit of a specialty coffee not everybody would like, in that the beans are soaked in bourbon before they're roasted. And then number 2, sadly, it's not available anymore. But Valkyrie Farms Spruce XXX, a fantastic cup of coffee. Our number 4 coffee is Red Rooster's Sumatra. If you've watched before, you probably know that I love the Red Rooster coffee folks down in Floyd, Virginia. They have several different blends. The Sumatra is a wonderful, strong, rich, without being bitter type of coffee. But truly, everything that comes out of Red Rooster I like. Cheers to you guys, great coffee. Our number 3 coffee today is Noble Tree Defiance. That's one I was not familiar with, and it was such a pleasant surprise. This coffee is grown in Brazil. It's roasted in Brooklyn, New York, which is a little bit of a surprise to me. And boy, when I first tasted that, I remember thinking it was just absolutely fantastic. When we first tried this coffee, I was not familiar with this brand, and it was a really pleasant surprise. Just a super strong, flavorful cup of coffee. A little bit of sweetness behind it, which is a bit unusual without sweetener added. Just a fantastic cup of coffee. Thank you to the folks at Noble Tree. I'm very glad to have discovered you. Our number 2 coffee is Stumptown Roasters Hairbender. Stumptown, this was the first Stumptown coffee I had tried. The Hairbender name made me a little bit curious to see if that was meant that it was going to really wake you up in the morning, and it was a great, bold cup of coffee with super flavorful without being overpowering. And that led me to several of the other roasts from Stumptown, and I can tell you those things are all fantastic. Cheers to all of you. And our number 1 coffee out of our first 100 episodes is from the Coffee Clatch in the Dayton Farmers Market here locally, and that is their Blue Ridge blend. This is probably my perfect cup of coffee. Super bold, also super smooth at the same time. If you haven't been out to the Coffee Clatch in the Dayton Farmers Market, make a trip out there and try their coffee. Great job. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for watching over these last 100 episodes. If you've got a real estate question for me or a coffee you'd like me to try, you can send that to me at questions@klinemay.com. So stay tuned. We've got some fun things planned for you in our next 100 episodes. As always, we'll see you next time.
What if you could take advantage of lower mortgage rates without refinancing? With DuPont Community Credit Union's new Rate Drop Mortgage, you can. DCCU's Rate Drop Mortgage lets you lower your rate every 12 months if rates drop. Just pay a processing fee per rate adjustment. No refinancing or new closing costs required. Enjoy flexible home financing with DCCU's Rate Drop Mortgage. Visit mydccu.com or talk to a mortgage advisor today to get started.
Kline May Realty, we are a full-service brokerage, and with that, we provide complimentary staging services to our clients. Staging services include coming in and staging a vacant house like this one, and we also provide staging consultations to families that are still living in their house while they have it on the market for sale.
You know, this is just the best place. Ever since we were kids, literally, nothing has changed. You can come in here and expect the same quality of food and fabulous prices and friendly staff, just like we did when we grew up here.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah. B, thanks, C. Do you need a cue card?
I do need a cue card. What?
We hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you again to our sponsors. We'll see you next week.